So, good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are located in our vast country. And welcome to this session called The Unforgotten. We're going to be looking at the video called Elderhood, and we are greeted by two wonderful knowledge keepers who will be joining us and being introduced themselves after we've had the opportunity to watch the video entitled The Unforgotten Elderhood. Just a reminder that this session is being organized and presented in collaboration with the Canadian Medical Association. And we're grateful for their support and participation. We can go to the video.
So I'm going to just pull and take that. Yeah, I'm diabetic, so this is going to be good for my circulation and energy. There's some strawberry there too, eh? Did you see that? Strawberry plant?
Here and there, strawberry, it's a heart medicine, and it has vines. And that's how our veins are in our heart, in the body.
Because we used to see them all the way down this road.
There's rabbit food here.
Yeah, there's tons.
Okay, look. Oh my gosh, that's like gold. Look at this. There's like a ton of it.
You could just smell it once you get into the earth. Yeah. Eureka! I've been looking for a few years. This is the weekend medicine. One of the unique properties of it is pain relief. Into the ground and locate this root.
They have a purpose, these plants. They are brothers and sisters, and they have a purpose like we have a purpose to survive, to heal one another. That's their gift to us, and for us to honor that. Sweetgrass represents the hair of Mother Earth. So when you see a braid of sweetgrass, there's many teachings about it. And when you look at the sweetgrass after it's braided, it only has two. You never see the third one. It's the man and woman and the child to come. Man, woman, child. Man, woman, child. We harvest lots of these plants, and it's hard work, but when I dedicated my life to help people, this is part of it. People come to us, and every person with an illness, there's a plant to heal them.
I remember following Stella from place to place, and she was flying, and I was trying to keep up with her because she took us to so many places. And I came back to camp and I was just like, overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge and the teachings that they gave us.
Being stripped of the use of our land, I couldn't believe that people could be that cruel. I felt like I wasn't whole because I couldn't make that connection to the plants, the trees. That disconnection, that was not my fault. That disconnection came from the government taking our land away and doing it in a very mean and cruel way. I had to heal. I had to heal my inner self. I had to get rid of all that bullshit that people put in my head and my mind, that I'm not worth anything.
I grew up in a residential school, and on a daily basis there was abuse. And that was when they cut our hair. I used to have long hair, braids my mother made. They're the antennas to the spirit world, to the Creator. And they shaved us way under. And then next was they poured that kerosene on our heads to kill our bugs, they said. I stopped being a child then. I never was a teenager like you. And then I developed this shame of my skin. I was ashamed to be an Indian.
The plants have a purpose, healing powers that we have to respect.
Now, this is wiki, rat root, could be boiled in up to 6 quarts of water if you only want to use this once. But you can boil it in 3 quarts of water.
It's very important to be connected to the medicines and to understand what you're picking and who you're picking it for. It's always been a part of who we are. When you have that relationship, the medicine works much better because you're believing in it.
I have the opportunity here that they did not have. And I'm very honored to work with Stella all these years. To hear her journey and hear her speak about her life has given me strength to face what I have to face in my life.
I have this land that I can come to. I belong here. It's part of me. Now I feel whole.
Today I know I'm not a savage. Today I know our people were very spiritual. It was hidden. Today what brings me at peace is picking medicines. For the last 30 years, I've been doing that, traveling here and there to find me where I belong. Today, I belong here. I'm one of those trees, the grass, and you. I'm part of everything. I do belong.
Look how the stars shine for you, my one and only you. They're telling you I love you. Look how the stars shine for you, my one and only you. They're telling you I love you. Hey, they're telling you I love you.
All right, well, welcome everyone. And we're so delighted to have with us Rasi and Besha. They will introduce themselves in their own way. We just, again, wanted to acknowledge the Canadian Medical Association and the production of that video that we just watched together. And Rasi and Besha, I'm turning this over to you now.
Yes. Good morning to everybody. And we're so excited to be here with you. And before we start, we always open it up with a prayer. So I would like to do a prayer this morning. Now it's in a casa masidia. And do carnazon canilandanda samasi. Now it's in a samasi dicho winda, najabige winda samasi. It's a yamori yamiga samasi dia. Najanazon begetting the casamasonte. It's in it says samasonte dear. Najanazon begeti ka gudinatsonte, nicodionte. Samasi, dear. Kaneganatonte, dear, anaton. Samasi, dear. I'd like to thank all of you for being here today. I ask for great blessing from the spirit world, from all our ancestors that have traveled this journey, and they have gone through the journey of life without their parents and learning a new way. And it's for all those spirits that have gone through the suffering. And I ask the Creator to look after them, but to also look after their children, their grandchildren, and great-grandchildren here on earth, so that they will never be affected by another residential school. I thank you all for coming and joining us and to hear our stories. And these stories, some of us have gone through it. And I ask the Creator to give us strength through these journeys. If it's going to hurt anybody today with our words, I ask you to look after them and guide them in the right way. And I also pray for your husband, for your wives, for your children, your grandchildren, and to bless your office, and also to bless the schools, and also to bless the homes. Masicho for today. Masi. I have thought a lot about this session because as elders, we are teachers, and the experiences that we go through in life, it's something that we need to also learn how we can heal ourselves from it. This life here was given to us so that we can do our best. Whatever situation it is we have to find answers to our healing and healing our people. But residential school was a huge thing. My brothers and sisters also went to residential school, but they've gone through a hardship just like I did. But it's not to travel this world with those heartaches. We have to find solutions of how we can heal ourselves so we can help other people. Everything that we do, we have to make sure today there's awareness about residential school. The impact that recently that we have gone through is a horrific thing that we had to see and hear in the last few months of finding all the young people that have been buried, and they've been buried all over across Canada, but also different parts of the world that had residential school. When I was a little girl, I was raised and born and delivered by my father because we were out on the land. We had an incredible knowledge from the land. I learned from the birth to where I am today to be who I really need to be. That no one could change the life that was given to me and the parents I chose to come onto this earth with. I picked very knowledgeable elders to be in this lifetime. Learned a lot on a land base. Learned a lot about how to survive, how to prepare our foods, how to search out for our foods, for all their vitamins. Everything that our people need to work and heal with is what I learned. And the medicines on the ground, how important it is for us to have it. There was no such thing as I was growing up, any such thing as medical centers, nurses, doctors. I wasn't raised with that. I was raised with the land, understanding about the animals, understanding how they are, how their spiritual way of life that works, and the recycling of every year, because they also have their own laws to follow. For us, that was really important to understand it so that we can communicate. But another thing that we learn is that you have to look after and protect the water. So that's what we done a lot with, is to keep our water very sacred and good. We protect that water. We make sure that we have some sort of ways, if the water has gone bad, how do we fix that? Some of us are gifted to be able to sing on a lake if it's contaminated, and to clean it with one song in less than 20 minutes. There's many other teachings that to learn, to be taught with. So some of us were born with a lot of gifts. Those medicine gifts have been passed on from generation to generation. Those are the things that I learned from the time I was a baby. I had grandpas that were very powerful. I'm part Gwich'in. I'm part of Clean Chon, but I'm also part of Norse slavery. So some of us, we have different blood inside us, but we need to know who we are. Where do we come from? How do we live in this lifetime from the past? And how do we still live it today? So those are hands-on teachings. Those teachings go through storytellings, through our languages. How do we survive if we're out there on the land by ourselves? Those are all the tools we have to learn. That's survival. So as I was growing up, I was already having a lot of knowledge. My parents and my grandpa were the ones that were my teachers. One of the things that I learned from my grandpa is to be a hard worker. You have to learn the little crawling ants, how they work in their life. So that was one of my research, is to be able to study the ants. So the ants gives you a lot of teachings, but they're very patient. And I followed one quite a ways. And I learned from that one ant. Oh, it's up here. I learned from that one ant that if I follow it, I will know that that ant will be going to get something that the rest of the ant need. So I followed it, and then I found that the ant was looking for medicine because somebody in that ant house is very ill. So I walked quite a ways to get that medicine, and that medicine was much bigger than that ant. And that ant was just absolutely wonderful and beautiful to follow. So it taught me to learn in this lifetime to be very patient. It taught me not to go further than every day. Have to live the best of this life every day. And then one day, an airplane came. I was about 9 going on 10. And the airplane came, not realizing that they were there to pick up the students. And so I walked my friend to the airplane. And the priest grabbed my hand and dragged me into the airplane. And my mom and dad didn't know where I went. They searched the lake, they searched everywhere on the land looking for me, and they couldn't find me. When we went to the residential school, like that elder was talking about, the first thing they do is to put this kind of medicine on your head, and it just burns. My hair was down to my ankle, and I went down to grab my hair, and I got hit really hard with a black rubber belt. And I'll never forget that, because in my lifetime with my parents and grandparents, I've never, ever been yelled at. I've never, ever got hit with anything. And when I felt that pain, I cried out, and I got hit even harder. So these are things that we look at residential school. I couldn't speak my language. Every time I spoke the language, I will get whipped by this black thing. It put bruises on my arms. And every time I walk out of the circle outside, I would get dragged into residential school with my hair. I lost a lot of hair because of it. And they watch you constantly. But then I look at that life. There must be a reason why I had to go through that. And how do I heal myself? After going home, when my mom and dad see me come out of the airplane, they just cried. They didn't even know that I was taken. A lot of our parents, when we're being taken away, they go through a lot of emotional trauma. And there's no one there to help them, to make them understand where their children went. So for that part of our life, it was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to understand English, because that English is very difficult to learn. And so when I started learning the English, and I went home and I started speaking English to my parents, they were very upset. They said, when you come to us, you do not speak that language. It's not our language. So as I got home, my dad and my mom looked at me, and my dad told my mom, I'm going to take our daughter on the land. I want to do a ceremony with her, so that to make her strong, so she can tell her story, and so that I can help her get healed from what she's gone through, the impact. So it took me away on the land and found a really good spot. He looked at me and he said, you choose the tree and you talk to that tree and hug that tree. It will help you, because that tree you chose has very strong medicine power. So he went out on the land, got the bat he made for me. And I chose a tree, not so big, maybe about 4 to 5 inches around. And I talked to the tree and asked for help. So I took a bat that Dad made me, and I hit that tree until I broke it. The tree felt, that's when the rage of sexual abuse is when I broke that tree. The medicine of that tree went up in the air and went right through my whole body. And I felt so much better. But then my mom and dad, my grandpa, guided me much more through counseling, and felt a little bit more better. But then I decided to take a look at future. How can I help my people with the experience that I've gone through? So I did a lot of research by talking to my sisters, my brothers, also to my friends with their experience. And I learned that we're all felt the same way. So we start talking about how can we help our people. And one of the things that I grew up with is that the elders have a lot of always depending on me to help them to create things, to build things that our people need. And I realized that we do have tools to be able to work on the pain and the hurt. So I looked at all those tools and the way my dad and mom healed me. And so I devoted all my life to my people so that I can have tools for them to be able to work with, so that they can learn to be happy again, to learn that what happened to them is not their fault, to teach them that they can also help other people. So I've devoted my life to them. And today we could see a lot of our people coming to our camp. We created Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation camp so that we can help our people that are going through such a distress in their life. This way here, we know that people are going to make a choice on their own to get that healing, not only for themselves, but also for their children and grandchildren. This is so important message that we can't wait for anybody to make this happen. We have to be able to work with each other. There is nothing in this world can say that we can't change. Many of us were brought up with traditional laws. Some people call it the natural laws. Some people call it those laws from where they come from. These laws are really important. Part of the healing that we're doing is we're bringing back those laws so that people can become much more stronger in their mind, their body, and their emotion and their spirit. So they can have those tools. Makes it really, really important for them to have those tools. It's the grandmothers and grandfathers that have suffered. They also know how to be able to help their people. But the people have to start asking for that help so that we can create much more better projects and programs for our people for the future. So working together as one people is most important. Even though we got hurt by religious people, we still have to find apologies from them. And especially the ones that are far, the ones that have gone, they need to hear something too. Their spirit needs to hear that. So for the future, we need to make it better by all of us working together as one people and to create an incredible healing system that can help our people even much more. So I want to thank you so much for hearing me, but I'd like to make sure that my sister speaks also. I love her so much. Masi.
Let's see. I'm going to move my camera a little bit.
Yeah.
So that people could see me. Kuyan nami galok tamani titawata. Rasi nasabi yunga. Habang nuna vaminga simayunga mani yalo na ifmakuni yalo nuna kalaktuma. Thank you so much for this invitation. My name is Rasi Nashalik. I'm from Nunavut region, which is way, way out up in Eastern Arctic. I'm Inuk, and I've been living in Yellowknife for close to 40 years. I moved here when I was in my early 20s. For work, I was one of those who had to move on to other places. I think this rooted from my being taken away from home when I was very little. I was 10 years old when I was taken away from my parents' village to go to school. And I always say that I'm so fortunate to have my parents still built me a foundation up to 10-year-old. I lived with them very traditionally. Travel by dock team, follow the seasons for animals. I am very grateful. I always do in my heart to carry the knowledge that I got from my parents. We didn't speak English. We spoke Inuktitut, which I do speak fluently. And I have used my language as my profession since I start working. I always translate it and interpret for my people. And it always in my heart that I needed to help my people to understand what's going on in this changing world we were living in. They deserve to understand what's going on because we've seen a lot of changes. My parents had seen a lot of changes based on colonization. We were stripped off from our traditional lifestyle by the government. And we went along because Inuit are so adaptable. Any kind of indigenous people are very adaptable. If we're told you're going to be living in a better place if you move out of your village, you'll be living in the houses with running water, with heat and stuff. They went along because white people were very, they had an authority to lead us on to a different world. So myself, I had considered myself as a person who could relay and make my people understand what's going on around the world. And I just so fortunate to have experienced my traditional lifestyle when I was a little girl. And then learning on to the different life, learning on to learn the English language, which I didn't even know when I was taken away, like I was 10 years old. My daughter always said, geez, Mom, you were kindergarten when you were 10 years old. And I say, yeah, because we didn't have school system where I lived, but my village was my school. We taught everything what we have to know around us. Our environment was the biggest, it was the biggest school I could ever imagine. Learning my culture, language, hunting skills, everything, you name it, around your village, how to survive the harsh winter's night. That was my university. I learned that. And I had to learn different language based on different language. I've seen lots of changes. I left my parents when there was no television, when there was no telephones, when there was no computer, nothing that you could think of. And I was taken away to Pangnirtung. There was no school, there was no high school at that time in Nunavut region, in Iqaluit, the capital of Nunavut. I was sent away to go to another school to northern Manitoba. And I lived there for 3 years, but we went home for school breaks during the summertime. What a change that I saw when television started coming in. The telephones. When I went back home, and that was in the early 70s, and I went home and I went to visit some families. They didn't even acknowledge you because they were watching TV. All those technologies that went through, I see, and also change of diet was the biggest one too, that a lot of us were eating traditional food, which is we based on our animals. Our diet was based on animals. Not any kind of animals, it had to be certain animals. We didn't kill every animal. No, we have to, let's say, if we need food right now, we eat pork, we eat beef, those kind of things. Our beef was caribou. We eat caribou meat, we eat fish that keep us healthy. And I learned how to do those. I still love my traditional food based on the other side of food, beef, pork, and hamburgers, all that. And the more this generation, I'm going on to food chain, that some people rather eat hamburgers, hot dogs, all that. It's based on colonization and also based on change of lifestyle. And even in the small communities up north are living like that now, even though there's a lot of poverty, because the groceries, you'll be amazed how much you pay for a pound of hamburger or pork, steaks, and a can of beans or anything, you name it, we have it in the stores. They're very, very expensive. My people are suffering from living in a very expensive place, but they have to live off the land still. We're so fortunate to live in the two worlds, two different worlds. If you learn how to live off the land and learn what's happening right now. And it's good to have. Survival was the big thing when I was growing up. And having plentiful of food, because we only travel by dog team. That was our transportation, nothing else. And there were kayaks. My dad traveled by kayak paddling, hunting for animals, seals in the summer and in the springtime. And also during the wintertime, they go way out to the flow edge, which is, there's a pack of ice, and there, when you go, there's open water. And they have to travel for so long to get our food. And I never forget when I was taken away from home, that it was very, very difficult for me to communicate. I was very scared. I remember that. I never really experienced bad things happen to me, but I was stripped but my culture was, we didn't live with our family anymore. And I just wanted to touch base on that because Inuit are quite different from other indigenous people, even though we are very similar in the way we depend on the land so much and animals. around us, surviving. We have learned a lot about survival stuff when I was little. And also I'm just kind of fitting in with my sister culture, who is living here in Yellowknife, and all my brothers and sisters, which were born here. They adopted me. And I really, really enjoy living here. I wouldn't be living here if I didn't like Yellowknife for 40 years. And I ended up living here for all those years. I'm going to stop on that. I think
Rasi, well,
yeah.
and thank you for that so much, and Besha. We did have a few questions that came in that we were hoping that, from this teachers and students.
Yeah.
And we were hoping that, although we are running out of time, in fact, we've gone a little bit over time already. So we'll ask you if you could be brief. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. I am going to choose one, which has to do with 7 generations and healing. And I'm just going to repeat it the way it was sent to us. So at a recent residential school survivors conference, one of the elders present spoke that will be at least 7 generations before true healing and First Nation reclamation and their inherent rights begins to be seen. Can you comment on how schools, teachers and students, can you comment on how they can help in this process? And thank you so much. We'll wrap up after you answer this question.
If I look at all this 7 generation, and I look at of all the healing that has to go through the whole process, I believe that if we come together and making a plan, the people that have gone through residential school have to make that plan. We, in the future, would like to see that our people take the ownership of this healing first. The only reason why I'm saying that is because we have been guided through our life in a wrong way. With our elders, help of our elders in the future, we need them to also give us a guidance of how we all should work together. I could see elders gathering together that have gone through residential school. I think it's about time that we start looking at a really good plan, but we need to make that plan ourselves first. For the 7 generations, so that we can heal with everyone helping us to do that healing. I would say by the 7th generation, there should be no more pain and hurt. And for us to travel this journey with substance abuse, with hurting other people, with all this negativeness, we have to have tools to fix that. And those tools were not our tools from the past. These are tools that we have learned because of all the pain that we have gone through. So those students that have gone to those schools need to sit down, also start making a plan. And I think from there on, I can see much more better planning and funding that should come to our people from the churches, but also from the government. Because the government made this choice for us to be where we are. So they need to step up and start working and helping us with funding so that we can start healing our people in the right way with the tools that are going to come from the elders and from the students that have been in residential school. We need to do our job because no one will know how to do it until we decide to put it in place. Because we know the sorrow, the pain, without our parents coming home to see our parents, are doing alcohol, which they never have done before.
Yeah.
So it's a huge impact. So we need to fix that. Thank you. Masi.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Besha. I think we wrapped up.
Okay. Masi Cho so much for helping us and for doing such a good work. Masi.
Aw, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
This
Yeah.
this was so wonderful. Thank you so much. And I did want to say to the students and teachers, and I'm going to add it in the comments, that, you know, because the teachers and students, what they can do is, I heard your answer. It's a journey that, you know, you need to guide yourself, and
Yeah.
it'll take the
then
time that
after-
it'll take. In the meantime, you know what we're going to do is we're going to, you know, be understanding. We're going to send you love, and we're going to send you compassion, and then we'll help you with that love and compassion to hopefully make that journey, you know, come to a sooner resolution.
Yeah.
We're very, very
You know-
grateful for your contribution.
Yes. Thank you.
You know
Thank you so
what?
much.
I think we have gone long ways
Yeah.
already.
Already.
We have started a very, very good journey.
Yeah.
We see the differences now.
Yeah.
At least in our area. By
Yeah.
working together,
Oh,
regaining
Yeah.
all our strength.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
should see the people coming to the camp and leaving. I would say about 99% of them going home feeling
Yeah.
so good and working with their children
Mhm.
and with their grandchildren.
yeah. Well, let's make a commitment to reconnect. There's so much that that can be learned from, you know, your wisdom and your experience. And let's stay in touch. And
Okay.
through our virtual platform, hopefully we can reach hundreds of thousands of students and
Yes.
really help this journey move forward.
Yes.
Thank you to both of you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Merci.
Okay.
Good
Merci.
night.
Merci. Au revoir. Thank you.
Masi
Bye-bye.
Cho. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You have a
Bye-bye.
beautiful smile.